My twin sister wanted me to seduce her husband to test him. When I refused, she lost it. Now everyone's blaming me for her divorce. I have a twin sister. But just because we're twins doesn't mean we think the same, act the same, or have some magical unbreakable bond. We haven't been close in years, because she's always been the manipulative one. Let's call her Layla. Layla married her husband, Call, about 3 years ago. Call's a good guy, honestly, too good for her, in my opinion. I was surprised they even got married, but I kept my mouth shut. It wasn't my business. During the first few years of their marriage, I didn't hear much from Layla. We chatted briefly at family events, maybe exchanged a few texts. That was it. Typical distant sibling stuff. Then, around 4 months ago, she started calling me out of the blue. At first a couple times a week, then every single day. Sometimes at 2 in the freaking morning. She never had anything specific to say, just rants. She kept saying something felt off in her marriage. That call was too perfect, and she didn't trust it. That he had to be hiding something. I told her she was overthinking it and, more importantly, to stop calling me at 2 in the damn morning. She didn't like that. Then came the part where all my problems started. She asked me to test her husband's loyalty. She wanted me to seduce him. I'm not kidding. She said, "Sweetie, you look exactly like me. If he falls for it, I'll know he's trash." I told her absolutely not. I thought it was creepy, unethical, and just, really freaking weird. She got defensive, told me she didn't trust anyone else to do it right. That I was her sister and she'd do the same for me. I told her again. No. Not happening. And for the record, I don't want you doing that for me, ever. She hung up. The next day, I got a message from Colonel. He asked if we could meet to talk about Layla. We met up, and he opened up quickly. "I've noticed Layla's been acting really weird lately," he said. "I know she's been talking to you a lot. Is there something I should know?" So I told him the truth. Everything. What she asked me to do. How I shut her down. How uncomfortable it made me feel. I know it was a lot to take in. I mean, you're being told your wife is trying to entrap you with a loyalty test involving her identical twin. What do you even do with that? He thanked me for being honest and left. 2 hours later, I got a call from Layla. She was screaming, full meltdown mode. "How could you betray me? How dare you go behind my back and talk to my husband? You've ruined everything," she cried. Then came the tears. She said she was just trying to protect herself. That she knew he'd eventually cheat. And I'd destroyed her only shot at proving it. I blocked her. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. She started harassing me. Made fake social media accounts to message me. Showed up at my gym. Sat in her car outside my apartment. I even caught her following me home from work one night. When I confronted her, she said, "I just wanted to talk." I told her to stay away from me or I'd file for a restraining order. Then, things somehow got worse. Call filed for divorce. I don't know what the final straw was. Or how much what I told him contributed to his decision. But that's where things stand. Apparently, Layla lost it completely. She sent bizarre messages to her friends. Tried to crash at our parents' house. Told my mom that Call and I were having an affair. My mom called me crying, asking if it was true. I explained everything. I told her what really happened. And I said the obvious. Layla needs help. Serious, professional help. The kind that maybe involves electroshock therapy. But little by little, my parents started taking my sister's side. Even though they knew the truth. They asked me to help pay for Layla's legal fees. Yes, you heard that right. They want me, the person she tried to manipulate, slander, and harass, to help fund her divorce lawyer. Because apparently, this is all my fault. Oh, of course. Because what she asked me to do wasn't completely insane. And for telling the truth, I now get the bill? They should be thanking me. If she really believed Call would cheat. At least now she's getting divorced before it happened. I told them I wasn't paying a dime. I knew they wouldn't like that. Now I'm getting the cold shoulder from my parents. All because of my sister. Meanwhile, Layla told our aunt that I've been pushing Call to go through with the divorce. That I've been brainwashing him. Making him think he married the wrong twin. I don't want to be her twin. I don't even want to look like her anymore. The fact that we resemble each other so much makes me terrified people will see me on the street and think, there goes the woman who ruined her own marriage. Because of her own insecurities. No. I don't even want to be in the same gene pool right now. I'm not saying things would be easier if we were just sisters. But I do wish I felt less connected to her. Update 1. In my original post, I said things were already spiraling out of control. But now, I don't even have words for what's happening. I don't know what's going on with my sister. I really don't. Well, okay, she's crazy. That much I used to say casually. Now, I think it's worse than that. So, after I told my parents I wasn't going to pay for Layla's legal fees, they tried pulling the whole "we're just disappointed in you" card. My mom sent me a message saying, I've always been the more rational twin. At least she knows the difference between us. But then she ruined it by telling me I should use that rationality to do something good for Layla. My dad said something equally ridiculous. But I already forgot what it was. I left both of them on read. I figured less contact might cool things down. Layla was already blocked. But I had to start blocking and ignoring every new number she, or probably her friends, used to message me. Then 2 days ago, she showed up at my job. She came in dressed like me, talking like me, pretending to be me. I work front desk at a clinic. I'm literally the first face people see. I had just stepped into the back to pull some files when my coworker ran in and said, Hey, I just talked to you like 5 seconds ago? I stepped out. And there she was. I told my coworker to call security. Walked straight up to her and said, You need to leave, right now. Swear to God. Someone's gonna have a story to tell their grandkids about watching me drag my own doppelganger out of the building with zero grace. My boss came out to see what the hell was happening. And she turned to him and said, My twin sister came here to cause a scene at my job. So I'd get fired. But I said something to my boss. Only I could know. And he called security. They finally escorted her out. But not before she screamed. You won't steal my husband as easily as you think. And this isn't over until I say it's over. While flipping me off. Right there. In front of all my coworkers. I had to take the rest of the day off. And guess what? That night my mom called me again. She said I deserved what happened. For not helping my sister. That if I had just agreed to pay the legal fees, I could have avoided the public humiliation. I don't understand how I am the one being blamed, when the unhinged lunatic is my sister. She is the one who ruined everything with her ridiculous games. She is the one who pushed Call to reach out to me because of her jealousy. Today, I spoke to a lawyer just to see what my options are. The harassment, the false accusations, the impersonation. It's all adding up. Thankfully, my boss is on my side. He said his relationship with his brother isn't great either. Though at least his isn't a twin. I haven't gone back to work yet. But I'm scheduled tomorrow. I don't know how the office will receive me after everything that's happened. But I do know one thing. I'm done being nice to her. If she wants to be Napoleon crazy, then I'm giving her her Waterloo. Update 2. What happened yesterday needs to be documented. Why? Because even though Layla has already broken some seriously concerning levels on the crazyometer, she managed to level up. I was expecting to see either my sister or my parents at my door. But what I wasn't expecting was to open my front door and find Colonel. He had an envelope in his hand. He just asked, "Can I talk to you, please?" I let him in. He sat down, rubbed his face, and then handed me the envelope. Inside were printed out emails and screenshots. A whole stack of them. All from Layla. Apparently, she's been sending him long, rambling essays about how I've been plotting against her, undermining her since childhood, how I'm jealous of her marriage, and, most importantly, how I've secretly been in love with him for years. I sat there flipping through page after page of complete, made-up garbage. Claims that I manipulated Call into trusting me, that I fabricated the whole test story, and that I'm winning. When I finished reading, or at least skimming through it, because I needed more time to digest that level of insanity, and I had wine waiting, he told me straight up he doesn't believe her anymore. He said that, at first, he did believe parts of what she said. Because, she was his wife. And I hadn't really been a part of their lives. So he gave her the benefit of the doubt. But once the emails started contradicting things he knew weren't true, he began seeing her for who she really is. Then he told me something I didn't know, and probably wasn't supposed to know. Layla had cheated on him multiple times over the past year. That's part of what led him to grow suspicious of her, and part of what drove him to reach out to me in the first place. According to Layla, her excuse is that he was probably cheating anyway, so she just wanted to even the score. Not even my part of the story was what led Call to file for divorce. Maybe it was the last straw. But I'm not the one responsible for the marriage ending. He also showed me what I now call his crazy file. Even though it was mostly digital stuff, screenshots, etc. He said he's filing for a restraining order next week. Then he told me that if I ever needed one too, he knew a great lawyer for it. He even asked if I'd be okay with keeping a backup copy of the evidence. The emails, screenshots, everything. Just in case. I said yes. Right after he left, I got a message from my mom. I don't know how she knew, but she asked, "Why did Call go see you?" Then she followed up with a few more vague, passive-aggressive lines, strongly implying that I'm doing something inappropriate with him. I'm starting to suspect that my sister might be following me, or following Call, which is why I'm now seriously considering getting my own restraining order, just to be safe. My coworkers are still treating me weird after Layla's scene at work. And here I am, smack in the middle of this disaster, because she was unfaithful. So no, I'm definitely not paying for her divorce. Even worse, now I'm somehow working with Call, which is exactly what my sister manipulated me into. Update 3. I exposed her with printed emails and showed zero mercy to my sister. I hadn't planned to do this. I really wasn't ready to let things rot quietly. Let Call handle his part. File a restraining order myself. And keep my distance. But then Layla, being Layla, decided she still had one last performance to give. So I thought, you want to play this game? Here's your final act. She picked the worst possible time and place. Our parents' house during a family gathering. Let me set the scene. My mom hosted a small dinner for the family, because some relatives were visiting from out of town. Normally, I would have skipped it. But my uncle, whom I really love, was coming for the first time in years. And I thought I could survive one evening. I told my mom. I didn't want drama. I didn't want to talk about Layla. And I wouldn't tolerate anything from her. As the host, she should guarantee that. And she told me. Of course, darling. We won't even mention her. She's not coming anyway. Lies. Because the moment I walked in, there she was. I was going to write that she had her dumb face on. But it was my face too. Although, to be fair, it looked a bit aged and worn out from all this. And sad. So I don't think we looked quite so identical anymore. I literally turned around to leave. But my dad stopped me and said, "Can we please have a peaceful night?" Layla already promised not to say anything. I should have left. I should have walked out and gone home. But I stayed. I didn't know I was walking into a war. But that's exactly what happened. Dinner was fine, I guess. We stayed away from each other. Nothing really happened. Until dessert. That's when Layla broke the truce. And launched her attack. Clear intentions of war. My sister said. I can't stand sitting next to the traitor. Who destroyed my marriage just to steal my husband. I've held my tongue all night. To not ruin dinner for our mother. But seeing her smug face. Like she's done nothing wrong. Makes my blood boil. She ruined my marriage. And she has no right sitting here like she's family. Everyone should know what she did. And cut her out completely. Betrayals must be cut out at the root. Otherwise they poison the whole family. And infect others with the same sickness. If there are no real consequences, what's to stop someone else from doing it? I replied. Beautiful speech. One problem, none of it is true. So let's correct the record. First of all, you cheated on your husband. And secondly, well, actually, that's all that really matters. She fired back. See how she lies to cover up what she did? If she paints me as the villain, she gets away with it. Ask her what my husband was doing. At her apartment not too long ago. Everyone was staring at me. So I said. Glad you brought that up. Because your husband came over. To give me some files. Maybe now's a good time. For everyone to see them. And that's how I began sending. Proof of her cheating. To everyone's phones. Including my parents. My mom started saying. This is not the time. And I said. You're wrong. This is the perfect time. Later, I would find out. My mom already knew about the infidelity. And was trying to avoid any fallout. While I argued with my parents. Our guests were finishing the evidence dump. So there wasn't much else to say. Layla was furious. Frozen in place, no idea where to go. No idea what to say. I turned to my parents and said. This is the person you've been defending. This is the person. You wanted me to give money to. Never, and I repeat, never. Contact me again. Then I left. I blocked my mom. Texted my dad. It's over. Don't speak to me again. Until you stop enabling her. Later, one of the guests told me. My mom had said a few things that exposed her. That's how I found out. She already knew. As for my dad. I'm not sure if he knew before. Or if that night was his first time realizing the truth. But that's where we are now. Update 4. This has officially gotten bigger than I ever imagined. Much bigger. And just to clarify, I didn't leak anything. I didn't send anything beyond what I shared at the dinner. But apparently, someone in the family forwarded my evidence. And now she's screwed. Let me walk you through the slow-motion explosion of the last 72 hours. It all started with a call from Colonel. He said a compressed folder was going around. titled Layla's Truth Pack. Inside? Everything. Someone had taken the time to compile all the evidence. At least what I had sent. Since I didn't send the same file to everyone. During that hectic moment, this person created a master compilation. But of course, it didn't stop there. My mom called me using my dad's phone. Only this time, she wasn't scolding me. She was begging. She said Layla was emotionally overwhelmed. And the divorce could ruin her completely. She asked me to help. At least to make Layla feel supported. Since everyone was attacking from all sides. If you support her, she said. Maybe others will too. And she won't feel so alone. Then she added. You're her twin sister. Aren't you worried that people will think you're her? When they see you on the street? My response? A small price to pay. If I get to see the manipulative little brat fall. When I finally cut my mom off, I was too busy to block my dad's number. Which he kindly reminded me of. By sending a message himself. I can't believe you're destroying your own blood. Out of spite. I hope it was worth it. Blocked. Here's the wildest part. I didn't leak the folder. But I'm glad someone did. Because people like Layla thrive in secrecy. They rely on others being too scared or ashamed to speak. I'm proceeding with the restraining order. Which I filed weeks ago and am still waiting to be approved. Hopefully, I won't need to extend it to my parents. Right now, I can't legally get one against them. Because they haven't crossed a certain line. But I dare them to try. My sister is sinking. And they're on the edge of the hole. Holding out a stick to try and pull her up. I just hope they don't fall in after her. Or worse, get dragged down with her. Update 5. The divorce case has ended. And it went very badly for my sister. You don't get much when you're the cheater. Trying to claim spousal support. While throwing yourself into other men's arms. Doesn't really fly. I've delayed writing this update. Because honestly, I needed the dust to settle. I didn't want to post while still caught. In the adrenaline of everything unfolding. But now that the storm has passed. It's time to wrap this up the same way I lived it. With honesty, directly, and without sugarcoating. Let's start with the divorce hearing. The worst part for Layla. She didn't want a divorce. And definitely not without money. She'd asked for alimony. For the years she spent with him earning less. Instead? A complete disaster for her. No surprise here. She thought she'd walk away with a payout. But when you get divorced for cause, you don't exactly walk away a winner. I don't know how that day went for her. But it couldn't have been pretty. Not if she expected to walk out with something in hand. Remember Layla's truth pack? Yeah. The judge received a version of that as evidence. From Call's lawyer. Everything I'm about to share comes from what Call told me afterward. He said he was calm. Because his lawyer was calm. The judge began by reading Layla's accusations. Emotional manipulation. Domestic violence. Financial control. Infidelity. All the same lies Layla wrote in her initial statement. Then Call's lawyer stood and dropped the bomb. Your Honor. We have direct evidence that contradicts nearly every claim made in this statement. Including multiple knowingly false statements. Made under penalty of perjury. They presented Layla's truth pack. Proof that she had asked her twin sister, me, to test her husband's fidelity. Proof of her stunt at my workplace. Proof of her multiple affairs. During the course of the marriage. Financial records showing she'd moved joint funds into personal crypto wallets. While claiming she had no access to money. The judge told her. You have presented no credible evidence to support your claims. The documentation provided by the respondent makes a compelling case of deliberate deception. I deny any request for alimony. Assets will be divided. based on how they were acquired during the marriage. Additionally, I recommend this case be reviewed for potential fraud charges. And that was that. She walked out of the courtroom, with her lawyer half carrying her, crying because everything went horribly wrong. But it doesn't end there. Not until my parents get one last word in, of course. They were furious that their poor little angel had been treated so unfairly, left with nothing after everything she'd given in the marriage. They weren't mad at her for everything she had done. They were mad at me. After the hearing, I got an email from my mom about how disappointed she was in me, listing all the reasons why. It was a big, steaming pile of nonsense. A wall of excuses to defend the family's golden girl. And not a single gram of guilt or responsibility for Layla's actions, or for how they raised her. She ended the message with, "Maybe you feel proud of yourself, but you've lost something more valuable, your family." I replied, "Thanks. I hadn't seen it that way. Now I realize I've gained much more." Then I blocked her final email account. So where does that leave me? Honestly? At peace. More at peace than I'd been in years. Yes, it's true. Some people still give me weird looks at the grocery store or coffee shop. But once I walk up and say, "Hi, I'm the good twin," they soften right up. It's not a bad price to pay, knowing that if my sister ever tries the same stunt, they'll know she's the bad twin and give her twice the disgust. I changed my phone number. So good luck to my parents trying to reach me from another number. And if they ever try showing up at my door, I'm not calling the police. I've got something better. I have a legal concealed carry permit. And while I won't use it on them, I guarantee they'll leave with their pants wet and their underwear ruined. Imagine them knocking with that smug entitlement. And I answer the door with a gun in my hand, asking, "Yes? What can I do for you?" In other news, Call invited me on a date. I said yes. We're dating. Getting married in 2 weeks. And obviously, that's a lie. This is for the people who've been shipping us. It'd be way too weird to date my sister's ex-husband when I look like her. And those aren't even the weirdest comments I've gotten. Some people think I should have helped her from the start. Helped her prove Call was cheating. Because all men cheat anyway. No. It wasn't my relationship. I didn't have to do anything. I only got pulled into this because of my sister. If not for her, Call might have divorced her anyway, once he found out about her cheating. But I wouldn't have had front row seats for it. And yet, here I am, with a restraining order granted by the court. After weeks of waiting. Update 6. My sister has been living at our parents' house. And according to her, the entire mess is Call's fault. For leaving her with nothing? Conveniently forgetting that she was the one who cheated. And that they each walked away with their own assets. Which, in her case, were practically zero. She doesn't even have a car. She's been going out, meeting new people, and moving on with her life. As she puts it. And as I put it. Doing what she was already doing. Just without the burden of being married. Those late-night bar and club trips were made using our parents' car. Because they used Calls for everything before. Well, one of those nights, she came back home more drunk than usual. And didn't see that the road was closed. She crashed straight into some concrete blocks. The result? The car was partially wrecked. As in, only if you squint with one eye could you pretend it's not. She ended up with some minor injuries. A twisted arm, a bruised leg. And, most notably, a massive scar across her face. Right along her cheek. Funny thing? If it had been on her forehead, I'd call her Twin Potter. She could even live in the basement under our parents' staircase. In that case, the name would have been perfect. Our parents converted our childhood rooms into an office. And a man cave. So technically, it's possible. She's now been slapped with a DUI fine. Community service. And, let's not forget, a seriously bruised ego. The insurance didn't cover the damage to the car. Because it doesn't apply to drunk driving accidents. So guess who has to pay for that? Our parents. And you know the best part? How I found out about it. Suddenly, people stopped giving me weird looks. I didn't know why. I thought maybe they'd finally moved on from everything that had happened. But then, while chatting with one of them, they told me what happened to my sister. And how she's now easily recognizable. Honestly? It's not bad that the evil twin now has a scar. Fits the personality. I would have preferred a pirate eye patch. Would have been even more on brand. But in life, you take what you get. Just dropping in to leave this update. Edit. When I mentioned the eye patch, I wasn't saying I wanted my sister to lose an eye. It's just that pirates are usually the bad guys and all that. I don't know why some people need things explained to them like they're 5.